At this very moment, heaven has stopped for you. Right now, nothing is a coincidence. This is a divine appointment. The mental sound of traffic, the burden that worries you. You've been carrying the questions in your pockets like stones. Right now, it's all being disrupted. To make his voice heard above the cacophony, God has leaned in and silenced all else. You are aware of the persistent pain in your body. You've probably had evenings when you can't sleep at all. There are mornings when getting out of bed seems like lifting a weight. And you have pondered if heaven has seen or if anybody else has. This is the reality. Your soul's every cry, tear, and sigh has been tallied. Nothing has been squandered. Heaven doesn't ignore you. Imagine a powerful orchestra in paradise. The air is filled with harps, trumpets, and angelic choirs. A single breath causes the whole sound to freeze as the conductor abruptly lifts his hand. In grandeur, silence falls. Why? Because the Father is looking at you. That quiet is not a sign of nothingness. It's focus. God has something to say about your life, and heaven waits. You won't continue to suffer. You won't stay broken. You have been selected to be healed. Imagine a lone candle flickering in a pitch-black hallway. All around, darkness closes in. The flame, however, will not yield. You are that candle, and God is softly breathing to stoke your light so that the darkness can no longer exist, not to put it out. Peace is not a soft word. As the Bible states in John 14, verse 27, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives." It's a weapon. It is the process of clearing the battlefield to make repairs possible. Calm calms the storm of dread, calms the fists of worry, and makes space for your body to heal. Jesus offers a kind of serenity that is long-lasting. The reordering is permanent. There was a chosen one I knew who remained silent for years. Their bodies struggled against illness. They held rejection in their hearts. Their pleas didn't appear to be heard. They penned a single, brief line each day. Sometimes it's just one word, waiting for someone else, and other times it's hope or sadness. It seemed pointless. However, those years of writing blossomed into a harvest when their visiting time arrived. The foundation had been laid in silence, yet the healing arrived all at once. The same silent basis has been established in your life, friend. You haven't spent your time waiting. Don't heed to the voice of shame. Heaven's pause is in contrast to shame, which screams, "You're too late. You're too weak. You're too unworthy." You're not defeated by the scars you bear. They are indicators of survival. They serve as evidence of your continued presence. Furthermore, God is not done with you if you are still here. Lean into the present now. Put your hand in the area that hurts the most, whether in your heart, head, or body. Say this little statement in a whisper. "I get it." That murmur is not helpless. There is agreement. It lets the pause of heaven touch the ground in your life. Make your assertion known if you believe this term is yours. If you agree with the time of heaven, leave a comment below with the number 77. It isn't customary. It is evidence. "I hear you, Lord," and "I receive" is how you put it. Additionally, if this message has moved you, please share and subscribe, not just for the sake of numbers, but so that others who are waiting for their own breakthrough might hear about this stop. You could be the cause of another person's suffering to be interrupted by the quiet of paradise. Breathe in. Give yourself entirely to this moment. Something has changed. For you, heaven's clock has stopped, and the countdown to recovery has started. We don't forget you. You are not forgotten. You have been selected. Hold on tight, even if the shift seems like a whisper. Nations are awakened by melodies that develop from whispers. This is just a pause. The portal to the life you've been longing for is here. Knowing that heaven's eyes are on you, bravely go through it. Raise your head. Choose one. You've already started to feel less burdened. And silently, a change is taking place. However, it will soon reverberate throughout your whole existence. There won't be any healing. It's here. Let your reaction be more than just private now. Spread the word so that more may come across it. Let your yes in the comments serve as a beacon for others who are still in the dark. History is changing as a result of heaven pausing. Your suffering is not imperceptible. That's how it may have felt. Concealed behind customs, concealed behind courteous smiles, and rejected when you attempted to explain it. You have had times when your feelings could not be adequately expressed by words. You choose to be silent instead. Silence, however, does not imply invisible. A record has been preserved by heaven. As meticulously as an artist examines each brushstroke on a painting, the Father has meticulously documented every tear on your face. Nothing you went through has gone unnoticed. Pain is a peculiar friend. It shows up without invitation, stays longer than anticipated, and won't go away in peace. Some of your suffering has persisted not just in your physical form, but also in your memories and the burden of losses you were never able to completely express. As you may have heard, time heals all wounds. However, time cannot undo the damage that has been done, because he simultaneously holds the moment of your restoration and the moment of the wound in his hands. The God who lives beyond of time is the one who heals. Imagine a single tear cascading into the sea. To the naked sight, it disappears in a second, swallowed up by infinity of waves. However, that tear is unique, and remembered by God. He sees why it fell in addition to the fact that it did. He responds empathetically, saying, "Nothing disappears in him." The Bible says, "You keep track of all my sorrows," in Psalms 56, verse 8. All of my tears have been gathered in your bottle. This isn't lyrical hyperbole. It is an affirmation that your life's most intense pains have never vanished into thin air. Heaven's archives have preserved them, and they all look forward to the day when God transforms sadness into joy. When you recognize that others are feeling your anguish, that day starts. You don't squander your narrative, and your body isn't left behind. A selected individual previously endured years of waiting for response. Physicians gave little hope. Nights continued interminably into mornings that seemed heavier than the previous ones, and friends left when the battle went on for too long. They started to accept the myth that heaven had abandoned them and that their suffering was unseen. However, they discovered the truth after a protracted wait. Their suffering had not gone unnoticed. It had been preserved, grown into seeds of witness that would eventually nourish others. When healing did come, it was not only for them. It was also for everyone who listened to their tale and was given new hope. This is mirrored in your personal path. Does anybody give a damn about every invisible tear, every unheard moan, every whisper you made? It's all been collected. Pain often attempts to persuade you that being invisible equates to being unimportant. However, in the kingdom of God, riches are often created in the region of invisibility. Your unseen pain is forming a witness that will shine much brighter than the shadows ever did, just as diamonds are formed in the darkness under the ground. Think of a secret seed that has been buried for weeks or perhaps months. Its fight under the earth is invisible. The roots are moving. Life is emerging from above when the shell cracks. Nothing seems to be occurring. However, the most crucial phase of its development is the seed's unseen effort. The world marvels at what seems abrupt when it pierces the surface one day. However, heaven was aware of what was happening under the ground the whole time. That seed has been your suffering. It's not pointless. It is creating something that will eventually be visible to everyone. This is significant because you cease hating your suffering once you realize it is not invisible. God does not create suffering, but he also does not want to squander it. He redeems everything, transforming what was supposed to break you into evidence of his closeness. You could still experience physical strain or a sense of weight in your soul. But keep in mind that mending often starts subtly. Before the change materializes in the body, it occurs in realms that are invisible to the naked sight. In the same way that a dawn starts long before the first rays of light peak over the horizon. The process of your rehabilitation has already begun. Raise your head. Consider God's hands as a craftsman repairing a historic work of art. The surface is covered with layers of dust. The paint has cracks in it. To the untrained eye, it could seem irreparably damaged. However, the artisan carefully and methodically sees the masterpiece underlying the harm. He restores, repairs, and cleans. He is treating you that way. Every mark of suffering turns into a chance to display his splendor. Allow this reality to serve as your fulcrum. No one has ever disregarded your suffering. Heaven has seen it, noted it, and reacted empathetically. Not only is healing possible, it is guaranteed. Furthermore, the exact obscurity that formerly made you feel forgotten is evidence that something more profound is getting ready to reveal you. Compared to others, you have carried more. This isn't a compliment. It is the acknowledgement of reality. Others would have been shattered by the weight you've been carrying. You're still standing, however. You weren't always sure whether your legs would hold, if your spirit would survive another storm, or if your heart could withstand another blow. However, you continued to walk, always going ahead, sometimes crawling, sometimes liming. Why? Because being ordinary was never intended for you. Normal routes are smooth. Resistance is avoided in everyday life. However, selected lives endure fire. Additionally, selected lives have burdens that influence their course in life. You have persevered more because heaven trusted you with strength that even you were unaware of, not because you are weak. Contemplate a bow and arrow. Tension builds until it almost appears like the arrow will break as it is pulled back and stretched to its breaking point. However, the force that is released increases with the distance it is dragged. Your life has been stretched and pulled. Every delay, setback, and disappointment has been the strings tug. It hasn't been a penalty. Based on what is disclosed in James 1 verse 12, that has been preparing for the launch. The person who endures hardship because they have withstood the test is blessed. The crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those who love him, will be given to that individual. No, it is not a waste of your persistence. Eternity is not the sole aspect of the crown of life. It also has to do with authority in the present, authority to do healing, the power to proclaim life for both you and other people, the power to remain unfazed even in the midst of storm. Once, a chosen one spoke about their experience of loss. They appear to fall behind while all of their friends look to be doing well. Every prayer seemed a little slow. They acknowledged that they were on the verge of giving up completely, prepared to stop asking, trusting, and anticipating. However, what others had gained over years was given to them in a single instant when the appointed season came. What seemed to be an unjust wait turned out to be rushed preparation. There's a whisper in their narrative for you. Don't mistake your stretching for desertion. It is an indication of trust. I now want you to engage with this reality. In the comments, type these terms. No retreat. Finish the quote. Why? Because your voice counts. It is not superstitious to write down. It is a witness. You are clearly indicating your agreement with heaven. You're saying that your troubles are worthwhile, that your difficulties are not over. Additionally, your crown is ready. Others may be reminded that they, too, have the ability to choose strength when they see those words. And someone else's tenacity could be sown by your assertion. Take a time to reflect. For what many of seasons did you doubt your survival? But you made it through them. You emerged breathing, upright, maybe with some scars, but undamaged. That alone is proof that you can overcome what comes next. It's common to see the picture of gold purified in fire, but think of a diamond as an alternative. It starts as carbon that is concealed in the ground, under unfathomable pressure and weight. It is not destroyed by the procedure. It changes it. It is dazzling because of the crushing that may appear intolerable. You have also endured unbearable strain, but you have been developing brilliance as a result of the weight. Hold on tight. You are not finished with this season. It's your formation. You are bearing evidence that your life was predetermined by God. You will shine more than most, even though you may have borne more than most. That's the exchange of heaven, suffering into glory, waiting into witness, and pressure into promise. And when the time comes, which it will, you will reflect on the burden you carried and realize that it is what gave you the strength you now possess. Thus, be aware of this. You didn't carry anything for nothing. The basis of your current strength has been shaped by the quiet tears, the unsolved problems, and the restless nights. What seemed to be punishment turned out to be preparation. Hidden design was the cause of the perceived delay. Heaven believes the release will be worthwhile which is why it permits the stretching. Your ability has increased. You have deeper roots now. Furthermore, no force of evil will be able to halt the arrow's flight once it eventually takes off. You have to stand your ground because of this. Unbelievably, your release season is almost here. Darkness is frightened by the light inside you. You may be surprised to learn this since you have often felt weak, tiny, or unimportant. However, your feelings and reality are not the same thing. Since birth, darkness has studied you. Even when you question yourself, it is aware of that. You carry something that will never go out, even if your hands and voice quiver. The struggles have seemed unrelenting because of this. It was never only about your relationships, money, or health. The light you carry has always been the focus. Light is not quiet. Shadows are disturbed by your sheer existence, even when you are silent. It doesn't take a yell to make a difference when a candle is put in a dark room. It just glows. Since darkness cannot stay when light is present, it disperses. It's the same with you. The opponent doesn't underestimate you, but you do. That's why you've been singled out. Through the prophet Isaiah, the Spirit communicated. Chapter 60, verse 1. Rise and shine, because the Lord's brightness is upon you and your light has arrived. First, take note of those words that emerge and sparkle. They are directives rather than recommendations. Light is not a passive substance. It is an operation. Refusing to stay under pressure is what it means to ascend. Shining means letting go of what God has already put inside you. The environment changes as soon as you start living this fact. Think about the nature of light. Morning sunlight may seep through even the smallest crevice in a wall. Over great distances, one may see a single star in the sky. Similarly, what seems to be a little spark inside of you may have a profound effect. Even your silent, lonely prayers have a greater impact than you may think. The adversary has attempted to maintain your sense of helplessness because he is aware of this. However, your life's evidence indicates otherwise. Recall times when you just entered a room and the tension started to subside. Consider instances when you were able to bring about peace with your words without even realizing it. Recall how people sought solace from you without you marketing yourself as a counselor or motivator. It wasn't a coincidence. Your light was working there. One myth tells of a chosen one who lived for years without anybody noticing. They felt invisible, disregarded by the majority and by those in positions of authority. However, the same individuals who disregarded them were attracted to an indisputable presence when they eventually fulfilled their mission. What was different? The choice to let their inner light shine without apologies rather than their appearance. That choice turned into a destiny magnet. The potential for your path is the same. You were really generating a stronger flame through the challenges that attempted to suffocate you. Your light now uses the tears that fell as oil. What used to seem like a sign of weakness has turned into the thing that will light the way for others. Imagine a solitary summer night with fireflies. A single flicker may seem delicate, but as hundreds of them come to life, the field's gloom turns into awe. Your unique light is important. However, when paired with those who share God's presence, the combined genius is unstoppable. Community is important because of this. When light gathers, darkness runs away, yet it flourishes when left alone. Humbleness is not the same as hiding. Being humble means realizing that God is the source of your illumination. To hide is to act as if you are completely unburdened. You never had a shrinking call. You were supposed to shine. By doing this, you make the person who gave you the light visible. Perfection is not implied by this brilliance. Every shade is not immediately dispelled by light. At times, it happens gradually, like the light gradually pushing back the darkness. At other times, it happens quickly, like a lightning bolt that illuminates the sky all at once. Light always prevails, however. Darkness can't dispute it. Let this reality sink in. Your struggles were never evidence of your frailty, but rather of your strength. When something does not threaten him, the adversary does not fight. Because you offer a threat to darkness, you have faced opposition. And if even while concealed, your brightness frightened shadows, just think of what would occur when you truly embrace your identity. Your life is a lampstand that is visible to others, not behind a basket. You are supposed to penetrate the darkness, not to fit in with it. You shine every time you choose forgiveness over resentment, hope over despair, and trust over fear. And the darkness's hold on you becomes less with every decision you make. So take a bold move. Your inner light is not brittle. It's wonderful. It's not going away. It's expanding. Furthermore, the darkness cannot outlive the morning you bring, no matter how loud it may appear. The mercy clock is ticking. You are standing inside a holy window of time, a time when heaven draws near and declares, "This is your hour." Mercy is not endless delay. It is opportunity offered again and again until the appointed season arrives. That season is here. The hand of God moves with precision, and you are being invited to walk through a door that will not always remain open. Think of a sunrise. It does not rush, yet does not wait forever. The sky slowly changes. Darkness retreats, and then a moment comes when the sun fully breaks the horizon. If you turn away too long, you miss it. Mercy works in the same rhythm. It has waited. It has lingered, but now it calls you to notice. The clock of heaven says, "This is your healing hour." Oh, the prophet Hosea spoke of such moments in chapter 10, verse 12. It is written, "Sow righteousness for yourselves. Reap the fruit of unfailing love and break up your unplowed ground. For it is time to seek the Lord until he comes and showers his righteousness on you." And it is time, not next year, not when life feels more stable, not when fear grows quiet. Now you are being showered with a rain that will not be delayed. Every hidden place in your body and soul is being refreshed by the timing of heaven. Let me tell you a story. A chosen one once lived through long years of silence. They prayed for healing, prayed for release, but it felt like heaven was locked. Yet when their hour came, it was like the sudden tolling of a great bell. What had been closed swung open. What had been delayed was accelerated. They described it like standing on a railway platform, waiting endlessly, and suddenly hearing the roar of the train as it pulled in. In an instant, they knew it was their moment to step aboard. That same moment is now before you. But as this message comes to you, I want to speak with transparency. What you're hearing is not entertainment, not background noise. It is poured out oil, words crafted with prayer and intention to reach your spirit. And if it has touched you, if you have felt hope stir, if you have sensed light breaking through, then I humbly ask you to respond in a few ways. First, like and share this message. It may seem small, like a pebble dropped into still water, but the ripples stretch far beyond sight. Your one action could carry light into the heart of someone standing on the edge of despair. Second, subscribe. Think of it as planting yourself beneath a steady waterfall. Each drop is a word in season, and subscribing simply keeps you standing where the streams of encouragement never run dry. And third, donation. Hear this with peace. Blessing is free. Healing is free. Mercy is free. But donation is like adding oil into a lighthouse lamp. The beam does not only guide your ship, it guides countless others lost in stormy seas. Your gift is not payment. It is oil keeping the fire burning for the next traveler who needs to find safe shore. Think of it another way. Farmers plant seeds not only for their own harvest, but so the field continues to yield long after. Your giving is a seed. It ensures that the field of encouragement, healing, and prophetic voice remains alive for many more who will stumble across it in their darkest night. If you feel led, give with joy, not with pressure. Give because you have tasted the water and want the well to remain for the next thirsty traveler. Give because generosity is an echo of the Father's own heart, and every gift carries its fragrance. But let there be no misunderstanding whether you donate or not. The word of healing belongs to you, is already yours. Mercy has paused. Time for your body and soul to receive. Donation is not a price tag. It is simply an invitation for those who feel stirred to join in the work of keeping this lamp burning as the clock of mercy ticks. Feel the nearness of God in your own body right now. Imagine gears in a great heavenly clock turning precise and steady, and in this very moment, the chime rings. That sound declares healing begins. It does not delay another day. It does not wait for the right circumstance. It begins now. So breathe. Notice the shift already happening. The heaviness loosens. The anxiety quiets. The pain that claimed to be permanent is being told. Your time is over. Mercy's clock strikes, and your life answers. This moment is holy. Cherish it. Walk into it fully. You are standing under a shower of grace that cannot be stopped. 5 minutes of transformation. That is what heaven whispers over you now, not tomorrow, not years down the line. Now you may not feel ready. You may even doubt it is possible. But readiness was never the condition for miracles. Surrender is all God requires, is your willingness to receive. Think of a seed. It may look small, lifeless, even resting in the palm of your hand. Yet when it is placed in soil, the transformation begins. The seed doesn't wait for perfect weather or the best soil. It begins where it is planted. In the same way, your healing begins where you are right now. Transformation in 5 minutes may sound sudden, but remember God is not bound by time. For him, one day can be like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years like one day. What feels impossible in human calendars is already settled in divine timing. The countdown has already begun inside you. As the apostle reminds us in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 16, though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. Renewal is already flowing through your spirit. Your body is catching up to what your soul has already received. There was once a chosen one who endured constant illness. Doctors spoke of limitations. Friends stopped checking in, and even their own heart whispered that it might never change. Yet, one ordinary afternoon, during a prayer that seemed no different than the hundreds before, something shifted. The pain that had been their companion for years began to lift. They later described it as though a heavy garment had fallen off their shoulders in a single moment. What seemed sudden was actually the fruit of years of unseen preparation. That is what is happening to you. What feels sudden is actually the culmination of every prayer, every tear, every moment you chose to keep believing. Even when hope seemed faint, your body and spirit are stepping into alignment with the promise spoken over you long ago. Imagine standing at the edge of a river. For years, you've seen only dry ground. The riverbed seemed empty, but suddenly the gates upstream open. Water rushes forth, filling the channels, bringing life to barren land. That is what divine transformation feels like. And here is the mystery. 5 minutes with God can undo years of pain. 5 minutes of his presence can repair what decades of struggle tried to destroy. 5 minutes of surrender can unlock doors you thought would remain closed forever. But do not measure your miracle by dramatic signs alone. Sometimes transformation begins subtly. Maybe the pain lessens. Maybe peace steadies your heart. Maybe clarity sharpens your mind. Small shifts are no less miraculous than sudden breakthroughs. A sunrise is no less powerful than a lightning strike. Now I want you to mark this moment. Take a simple step of agreement. Comment the number 1212 below. Let it be your prophetic sign of alignment with this 5-minute transformation. Your comment becomes a declaration. I agree. I receive. I believe this is my moment. End of 4. Why 1212? Because it represents divine order doubled. A picture of God's perfect alignment flowing into every area of your life. 12 tribes, 12 gates, 12 foundations, symbols of completeness and heavenly government. When you declare 1212, you are testifying that your body, mind, and spirit are entering divine balance, ruled not by chaos, but by God's design. Healing is not only about what leaves your body, but what enters it. Peace enters, joy enters, strength enters, and as these flow in, sickness, heaviness, and despair must flow out. When God fills, darkness has no choice but to flee. Think of transformation like a cocoon. The caterpillar disappears, hidden away, seemingly motionless. Yet inside, cells rearrange, wings form, and a creature of flight emerges. That moment of bursting forth does not take weeks, it takes minutes. All the preparation culminates in a sudden release. Your 5 minutes are not about limitation, but about focus. In these moments, heaven concentrates its attention and miracles ignite. The atmosphere shifts. Your body feels lighter. Your spirit grows calmer. The transformation may feel like a spark or like a flood, but either way, it has begun. Do not doubt the subtle signs. When peace wraps around you, that is healing. When tears fall with relief, that is healing. When laughter unexpectedly rises in your chest, that too is healing. The spirit heals in ways deeper than human explanation. So breathe slowly. Feel the countdown continuing. 5 minutes may be a window, but its effects will echo long after the clock has turned. What begins now will continue to unfold in the days ahead. You are not forgotten. You are being transformed right now. In this very moment, chains of affliction break. The invisible bonds that once wrapped themselves around your body and mind are loosening even now. Some chains are heavy and obvious illness, fatigue, anxiety pressing hard against your chest. Others are subtle like whispers of fear, hidden bitterness, or a hopelessness that tries to convince you nothing will ever change. Yet whether heavy or subtle, they're the same lies dressed as shackles. And when the voice of God speaks, no chain can remain. Chains do not only bind the body, they bind perspective. They make you believe that what has been will always be, that patterns cannot be broken, that suffering is permanent. That is the cruelest deception of bondage. It convinces you to accept it as identity. But you're not your pain. You're not your sickness. You are not your failures. You are chosen, and chosen ones do not remain bound. The book of Nahum chapter 1 verse 13 declares, "Now I will break their yoke from your neck and tear your shackles away." Oh, the yoke is heavy, but God's promise is heavier. The shackles may have clung for years, but his hand tears them in a moment. What pursued you yesterday does not define your tomorrow. Picture an iron shackle heated in fire. At first glance, the metal seems unbreakable, forged too strong to ever open. Yet when fire touches it, the iron weakens, cracks form, and suddenly what seemed indestructible falls to the ground. The fire of God's presence is that heat. Every chain that is wrapped around you is meeting that fire. Consider the story of a chosen one who lived with constant fear. Their body was healthy, but their mind was chained. Anxiety dictated their steps, shrinking their world smaller and smaller until they could barely leave home. They thought, "This is who I am now." But one evening during quiet prayer, they felt something shift. The fear that once filled every corner of their chest suddenly lost its grip. It was not that circumstances changed instantly, but the chain of fear broke inside them. From that moment forward, they began to walk freer, breathe deeper, and live wider. Chains break first in the unseen, and then the visible life catches up. Some of your chains are generational. They did not begin with you. They were handed down. Cycles of illness, patterns of despair, stories of failure repeated again and again. You may have wondered, am I cursed to live what my parents lived? The answer is no. Generational chains may explain the battle, but they do not dictate the outcome. In you, the line breaks. Think of a thick rope wound tightly around a pole. Over years, it weathers, frays, and weakens. All it takes is a single decisive cut, and the rope unravels in an instant. Heaven's blade has already struck your chains. What held your family for decades is ending in you. You will not pass it on. Chains are not only broken by force, but also by light. Imagine walking through a dark cave with shackles at your feet. You stumble because you cannot see. But when light floods the space, you notice the chain was never even locked. It was fear that kept you from trying to step free. Light exposed leaves, and in that exposure, freedom comes. So as chains fall from you, now notice what it feels like. The weight lifts, the heaviness eases, your breath comes easier, your steps feel lighter. That is freedom beginning to show itself. It does not always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it is as simple as realizing I am not bound anymore. And do not underestimate the power of this moment. The chain that breaks may be the very thing that once convinced you that freedom was impossible. And when it falls, it testifies not only to you, but to everyone who sees your life. They will say, if they were set free, maybe I can be too. Your breakthrough becomes a beacon for others still bound. So walk forward. Chains are falling behind you, not following you. What once clung to your ankles has no claim on your steps anymore. Your path is being cleared. Your body is being lightened. Your spirit is being freed. The sound of chains breaking is the soundtrack of your new season. So take each step with courage. Where chains once rattled, silence now speaks. That silence is not emptiness. It is freedom breathing into your lungs, announcing that your journey has shifted. You are no longer dragging what tried to claim you. And as you move forward, remember this freedom is contagious. The lightness you carry will ripple outward, touching others who still believe their shackles are permanent. By walking free, you become a living testimony that God still breaks chains today. Divine fire flesh. The Spirit of God is not distant, not abstract, but near, closer than the breath in your lungs. His presence does not only whisper to the soul, but also moves through the body, bringing restoration in ways that medicine cannot fully explain. When divine fire falls, it does not consume you, it heals you. Fire in Scripture often represents God's purifying presence. It burns away what does not belong while leaving what is true and holy. Think of gold placed into a furnace. Heat rises, impurities melt, and what emerges is stronger, more radiant. Your body is experiencing this same refining touch. The fire is not here to destroy, but to restore. The Word of God declares in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 2, "For you will be like a refiner's fire or a launderer's soap." And this image is striking. A refiner's fire is controlled, precisely intentional. It burns with purpose, just as a skilled craftsman knows exactly how long to keep gold in the furnace. God knows how to touch you without overwhelming you. His fire removes the residue of pain and releases the strength hidden beneath. Imagine the fire of the Spirit moving through your bloodstream. Every cell is visited. Every joint receives warmth. Nerves that once carried pain are soothed. Muscles long tense begin to relax. This is not imagination. It is the unseen work of a presence greater than science can measure. The same Spirit who breathed life into dust is breathing into you again. A chosen one once shared their story of sickness. Years of treatments left them weary, and they began to expect nothing new. But in one quiet gathering, while praying in surrender, they felt a heat rise through their chest, radiating out into their arms. They thought it was strange, perhaps even alarming, but later realized it was the touch of divine fire. From that night on, their body began to recover in ways no one expected. Doctors called it remarkable, but they knew it was more than medicine. It was mercy and fire. Fire also symbolizes passion. When the Spirit touches flesh, it not only heals, but awakens. The same fire that repairs your body ignites your spirit with fresh hunger, fresh courage, fresh joy. Suddenly, you find yourself eager again, eager to live, to love, to believe. Despair cannot survive in fire, because fire transforms what it touches. Think of dry wood in a fireplace. Cold, brittle, lifeless. When flame catches it, warmth spreads through the room. Comfort fills the air, and light dances in the darkness. You are that wood where parts of you once felt brittle and lifeless. The Spirit's fire is catching hold, spreading life and warmth. This fire is also protective. Picture a wildfire sweeping across a plain, leaving nothing for enemies to stand upon. In the same way, when the Spirit fills you, every dark force attempting to cling to you finds no place to remain. The fire cleanses not only your body, but the atmosphere around you. Some may expect fire to be loud, dramatic, uncontrollable, but divine fire is often gentle. It may come as a steady warmth, a quiet glow that begins small but grows. Do not dismiss it if it does not feel overwhelming. Even embers carry the power to light entire forests when fanned by the breath of God. This moment is not just about physical restoration. It is about identity. When fire touches flesh, it marks you. You become a carrier of warmth to others. People will sense something different when they are near you. Peace, comfort, and a strength they cannot explain. That is the lingering effect of fire. It leaves traces long after the flame has passed. And so feel the Spirit's fire moving even now. It is not distant but intimate. It knows exactly where to go into hidden wounds. Unspoken Selah. It reaches corners of your being you thought were locked away forever. Nothing is off limits to this fire. Let the image sink deep. Your body as a lamp and the fire of God as the flame. Once ignited, the lamp does not only burn for itself but for all around. You are becoming that lamp lit not by human effort, but by divine touch as this fire continues its work. Trust the process. Trust that what feels like heat is actually healing. Trust that what feels like change is really restoration. You are not being consumed. You are being renewed. The fire is proof that God has not left you cold or lifeless. He is here alive, burning gently through you, leaving you whole. Heaven confirms your healing. What God begins, He also completes. You are not left wondering whether this shift in your body is imagination or whether the peace rising in you will vanish. The evidence of heaven's touch is real, and the confirmation comes both in the unseen and the seen. Think of a courtroom where a verdict is delivered. For years, a case may drag on, arguments flying back and forth. But when the judge speaks, everything is settled. No further dispute can override that final word. Your life has been in that courtroom pain making its case, despair presenting its evidence, but heaven has spoken the final decree. Healed, restored, renewed. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 30. Verse 17 declares, "But I will restore you to health and heal your wounds, declares the Lord." That is heaven's confirmation, not a suggestion, not a wish, but a declaration. A judge does not hope, he rules. God does not merely hope you will recover. He declares it, and His word becomes reality. Look for the signs, for they often begin small. Perhaps the pain that once dictated every step is now less. Perhaps energy is returning in moments you thought would remain exhausted. Perhaps laughter comes more freely where heaviness once sat. These are not random. They are confirmations. A chosen one once described their healing as drops of rain. At first only a few, barely noticeable. Then the drops grew steady. Finally, a downpour came and the dry ground of their life was flooded with new strength. Healing began as hints, but heaven confirmed it fully. The same pattern may be yours. Think of a tree after winter. At first, the branches look lifeless, brittle, gray, yet small buds begin to appear, tiny at first, but undeniable. Those buds are proof that life has returned. You may not see the full bloom yet, but the signs are there. Heaven often confirms healing, not just in body, but in mind. Suddenly, fear loses its power. Nightmares end. Hope feels natural again. You discover yourself planning for the future instead of bracing for the worst. These internal confirmations are as miraculous as physical ones, for they reveal the Spirit restoring wholeness. Now it is your turn to respond. Comment the words "life returned" below. These two words are more than text. They are a declaration. By writing them, you affirm that you recognize the signs, that you believe heaven's decree, and that you choose to agree with it. Why is this important? Because your testimony matters. When you declare life returns, you're not only acknowledging your own breakthrough, but also sowing courage into others who read it. They may still be waiting for their sign, and your boldness becomes their encouragement. Remember this truth. Heaven's confirmation cannot be revoked. What God seals cannot be unsealed by fear, doubt, or circumstance. You may feel waves of resistance, but the verdict remains the same. You are not fighting to become healed. You are walking as one already declared healed. So notice the evidence. Celebrate the small shifts. Trust the larger ones to unfold. And above all, rest in the confidence that what heaven begins, it always brings to completion. So let your heart lean into gratitude. Gratitude is not just a polite thank you. It is the posture that says, I see what you have done and I will not dismiss it. Gratitude turns small signs into loud testimonies. When you notice even the subtle evidence of healing and you give thanks, you magnify it. What you honor increases in weight and presence in your life. Gratitude also stabilizes you when doubts try to return. There may be moments when old symptoms whisper or when fear suggests the healing won't last. In those moments, gratitude becomes your weapon. Instead of agreeing with fear, you remember the evidence. You rehearse the goodness. You recount the small breakthroughs that prove heaven has touched you. This practice anchors your faith and silences lies. Think of sailors guided by the North Star. No matter how rough the waves or how dark the sky, that star remains steady. Gratitude functions the same way. It keeps you oriented toward God's faithfulness even when storms still stir around you. You don't lose your direction because you're fixed on what is unchanging. His word, His promise, His touch. So today, as heaven confirms your healing, let gratitude be your steady song. It does not have to be dramatic, even a whisper. Thank you, Lord, carries weight in eternity. Each grateful word is like a stone laid down, building an altar of remembrance for generations to see. Your testimony awakens others. What you are experiencing is not only for you. Healing is personal, but it is never private. When God touches your body, restores your peace, and renews your strength, it is so that light can spill over into the lives of those still sitting in shadow. Your testimony is a lamp that makes hidden paths visible. Think of a traveler walking through a forest at night. They stumble, unsure of where the trail ends. Suddenly, they see a lantern shining in the distance. That lantern does not remove the forest, but it gives direction, courage, and hope. In the same way, when you speak of what God has done for you, you become that lantern. People still in their night look up and realize if the light shines there, maybe it can shine here too. Scripture reminds us of this principle in the Gospel of Matthew 5, verse 16. Let your light shine before others that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father. Your healing is not only a private relief, it is a public invitation. When others see you walking differently, smiling genuinely, carrying peace where anxiety once ruled, they will not merely admire you. They will glorify God. A chosen one once hid their story of recovery, fearing others would not believe it. But when they finally shared, they discovered something profound. Friends confessed they had been silently struggling with similar pain, and hearing the testimony gave them courage to believe for themselves. Silence isolates, but testimony gathers. Testimony says you're not alone and God still moves in. And so I invite you like and share this message. Imagine tossing a single seed into the wind. At first, it feels small, almost insignificant. Yet, the wind carries it farther than your eyes can follow. Planting it in soil you will never see. Sharing your light works the same way. A simple action can land in someone else's darkness and birth life where you never step. Subscribe as well. Think of it as finding a well in the desert. Once you know where the water is, you return not because the desert has changed, but because the well sustains you. Subscribing ensures you never wander thirsty. It is a way of saying, I will remain connected to the source that refreshes me. And if your heart is moved, consider this donation not as a price, not as a requirement, but as a gift that multiplies. Picture a lighthouse on the coast. Its beam warns ships of danger and guides them safely to harbor. But that light only shines as long as oil fills the lamp. Every gift is like a drop of oil, ensuring the beam never goes dark. When you give, you're not paying for light. You're fueling it so countless ships find safe passage. Or imagine your donation as planting a tree. You may never sit under its shade yourself, but generations after you will. Someone else will find rest because you chose to plant. That is what generosity does. It stretches beyond your lifetime, your needs, your moment. It creates shelter for the weary who will come later. Hear this clearly. Whether you give or not, your healing is secure, mercy is free, Grace is free, and the fire of God is not for sale. But donation is a way of saying, I want to keep this light alive so others may find it too. It is a choice, a beautiful act of love that echoes beyond you. Your testimony is proof that miracles still happen. And when you share it, whether by word of mouth, by sharing this message, or by supporting the work, you become a witness. A witness is not someone who argues or persuades. A witness simply says, I saw it. I experienced it firsthand. It is real. I imagine standing on a mountain peak after climbing for years behind you. Others struggle up the path, weary and uncertain. You do not need to carry them. You only need to shout back. The summit is real. Keep climbing. It's worth it. That is the power of your testimony. So, as you feel this renewal flowing through you, remember it is too radiant to be hidden. Healing is multiplied when shared. Your words, your actions, your choices all become seeds, lanterns, and lighthouses for those still searching. Like, share, subscribe. And if your heart leads, give. Do it not from pressure, but from joy. Do it because you know that what touched you can touch someone else. Do it because keeping the light burning is a holy act of generosity. Your testimony is rising. Your voice is needed, and your story will awaken others who thought they were forgotten. You are proof that heaven still moves. The enemy loses ground. For too long, darkness has whispered that it holds the advantage. It has tried to convince you that your sickness was permanent. That despair was your portion. That cycles of failure were your inheritance. But the truth is clearer than those lies. Every plot of the enemy is being dismantled. What once had permission in your life has now been stripped of authority. The ancient words recorded in the book of Romans chapter 8 verse 37 declare, No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. And notice the phrasing, not barely surviving, not simply enduring, but more than conquerors. That is not the language of defeat. It is the language of overwhelming victory. To be more than a conqueror means the battle is already settled before you even lift your weapon. The love of God secures your triumph. Think of a battlefield where soldiers once clashed violently. Dust, cries, and steel filled the air. But when the tide turns and the enemy flees, silence follows. That silence is not emptiness. It is proof of victory right now in your spirit. That silence is spreading. The battles that once defined your days are losing their grip. The enemy has always feared your awakening. That is why attacks came against your health, your relationships, your peace. If he could keep you bound, he could silence the light you carry. But the moment you step into awareness of your identity, his hold collapses. Awareness itself is warfare. Consider the image of a storm on the sea. Waves rise, winds howl, the boat rocks violently. Then suddenly the command of Christ stills the waters. The storm does not fade slowly. It halts instantly at his voice. The enemy's grip is like that storm. Loud, chaotic, convincing, but at the command of heaven, it vanishes in a moment. A chosen one once endured seasons of relentless attack. Every step forward seemed followed by 2 steps back. Illness came. Finances crumbled. Friendships dissolved. They began to believe their life was cursed. But in a single encounter with God's presence, they realized the truth. What looked like defeat was actually intimidation. The enemy had no true claim, only noise. Once they stood firm in faith, the noise ceased, and the ground once occupied by darkness became ground of testimony. This is the reality you now walk into. The ground that sickness tried to claim is being reclaimed for health. The ground despair tried to cover is being filled with joy. The ground fear tried to fence off is being opened wide for freedom. Every step you take is holy reclamation. What once belonged to darkness is returning to its rightful owner. Think of weeds overtaking a garden. Left unchecked, they choke the life out of the flowers. Yet the moment the gardener begins pulling, the weeds lose their hold, roots are ripped out, space is cleared, and beauty flourishes again. The enemy's schemes are those weeds, and the gardener's hand is upon your life right now, clearing what tried to suffocate you. This is why your healing matters so deeply. It is not just relief from pain. It is eviction of darkness. Every symptom lifted, every fear silenced. Every chain broken is proof that the enemy is losing ground. What once mocked you is now silent. What once weighed you down is gone. Do not mistake lingering echoes for renewed attacks. Sometimes after a storm, thunder still rolls faintly in the distance. But the rain has ended. The thunder is not the storm returning. It is only the sound fading away. In the same way, do not fear if old thoughts or small pangs try to rise. They are echoes, not reality. The ground is already won. See yourself as a torchbearer walking across land once consumed by shadow. With each step, light spreads and shadows retreat. The ground trembles because it remembers who truly owns it. That ownership has been restored to you, not by your strength, but by the one who declared you more than a conqueror. So walk with confidence. The enemy no longer dictates your pace or your story. His grip is broken, his ground lost, his claims void. Every breath you take in freedom is a declaration of his defeat. The ground is yours again. Step into it boldly. So lift your eyes and see the horizon opening. What once looked like barriers are now gateways. The ashes of old battles become fertile soil for new beginnings. You're not standing in ruins. You're standing in reclaimed territory that will soon bloom with life. And as you move, remember, freedom is not fragile. The ground restored to you cannot be stolen again. Every step you take secures it further. Every breath you breathe declares ownership. This is your inheritance. Not borrowed, not temporary, but eternal. The enemy has lost, and you will never walk bound again. Marked by recovery. This is the season where you rise different from before, carrying evidence on your body and in your spirit that heaven has touched you. People may not fully understand it. Some will say you look stronger. Others will notice peace on your face. Still others may not have words, but they will feel something shift when you enter the room. That shift is the seal of recovery. The book of Joel chapter 2 verse 25 speaks with assurance. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, and recovery is not partial. It does not give you back fragments and leave you with the rest missing. When God restores, he covers the years devoured, the strength stolen, the opportunities delayed. You are not coming out limping with scraps. You are walking out with more than you lost. Think of a broken bone. When it heals properly, the place of the break often becomes stronger than it was before. What once was weakness becomes reinforcement. In the same way, your scars are not evidence of defeat. They are reinforcements of strength. Recovery marks you with resilience. A chosen one once endured years of loss. Their business collapsed. Their health faltered. Relationships grew thin. They confessed. They felt like a shadow of themselves, emptied out by trial. Yet when restoration came, it was more than a return. It was transformation. Their new season carried opportunities greater than the old. Their health not only stabilized, but grew stronger. Their voice carried more authority because of what they had survived. Recovery did not return them to who they were. It marked them as someone entirely new. Your life is walking that same pattern. What the locust of affliction consumed is being repaid. The years that felt wasted are now being redeemed. You will not just regain strength. You will carry wisdom, compassion, and authority you never had before. This is the mark of recovery. Not only what comes back, but what is added. Picture a tapestry woven with bright threads. An accident tears a hole through the fabric, leaving it marred and weak. Yet, when the weaver repairs it, he does not use dull thread. He chooses threads more vibrant, more radiant, so that the repaired place shines brighter than the rest. That is your recovery. The parts of your life torn by pain are being rewoven with colors more glorious than before. Recovery also carries recognition. People who once overlooked you will notice. Some may wonder how you endured. Others may be drawn by the quiet strength you radiate. The mark of recovery is not loud boasting, but undeniable evidence. Your very presence testifies that heaven restores. And here is your invitation to seal this moment. Comment the number 555 below. Why 555? Because in the rhythm of Scripture, The number 5 represents grace repeated 3 times. It is the abundance of grace poured over every area of your life, body, mind, and spirit. By writing 555, you are declaring, I walk in multiplied grace. I have the scar of my recuperation. It is a public statement of agreement with God's actions rather than superstition. Some may ask why numbers are important, yet throughout the Bible, numbers have importance. For example, 12 tribes, 7 days, and 40 years each have a specific significance. You enter that prophetic rhythm and link yourself with heaven's language of restoration as you write 555. At first, recovery could seem slight. Maybe you wake up feeling more energized than you have in years. Maybe it's easier to laugh. Maybe the place where anxiousness used to reside in your chest becomes calm. Don't write them off as minor. They're the indicators that the healing process is starting. Your scars themselves tell the tale. Don't conceal them. They serve as evidence that you survived the fire and were not destroyed. They serve as proof that you were carried by grace, much like medals of survival. Perfection is celebrated worldwide. However, heaven rejoices when wounds become testaments. When you walk in a state of repair, recovery also goes beyond you. Your family is aware. Doubting friends start to feel hopeful again. Unknown to them, strangers may even feel at ease in your presence. Your recuperation is not confidential. It turns into a well from which others may draw. Imagine an orchard that was devastated by a hurricane. Broken branches. Fraud was defeated. But with attention, it grows once again. Everyone who consumes the fruit from the orchard benefits equally from the return of harvest. Not only the orchard owner. You will give others around you hope. So, go with courage in this. Don't feel bad about being renewed. Don't downplay the miraculous. Take a proud stance, holding the mark of grace in your possession. As a live example of healing, you now walk erect where you formerly knelt beneath suffering. You've been given the seal of healing. You've changed since then. You are characterized by grace, encased in fortitude, and appointed to bear witness that God fully restores. Where frailty formerly slowed you down, strength now returns to your steps. Power is now flowing once again, even though you may not feel like running just now. Even the slightest change in your gait may have a significant impact. The mental clarity, rejuvenation is evident when you feel quiet in your chest. Muscles are not the sole way to assess strength. It is determined by endurance and the silent capacity to get back up every morning. David's compositions in the Psalms serve as a reminder. Verse 11 of chapter 29, the Lord provides his people with strength. Peace is a blessing from the Lord for his people. Finish the quote. Peace and strength are two blessings that are combined. Without tranquility, strength might become striving, which will wear you out once again. If you lack strength, you may become immobile and inactive. However, you are both anchored and driven when you come together. You advance with steady, sustained strength rather than in a frenzied manner. Imagine a field with fractured soil that has dried up due to drought, fragile grass and drooping plants. Then the rain comes as a shower of nourishment rather than a destructive storm. What formerly drooped starts to rise up again as the earth becomes softer and the roots take in more water. That's the strong picture coming back to you. Stable, nutritious, and enduring, not harsh or coerced. A chosen one once believed they had run out of endurance. Every step seemed weighty, every job insurmountable. But when strength did return, it did so in surprising ways. They discovered that they could laugh once again, sleep well, and wake up without fear. It wasn't until much later that they realized their body had followed the regeneration of their souls. Strength did not appear suddenly. It came softly, slowly, but unavoidably, like daybreak. This may be reflected in your travel. Do not belittle modest beginnings of power. The day you walk further than before, the hour you talk without worry, the day you carry groceries painlessly. These are signs of rebirth. Imagine an eagle learning to fly. These are whispers from heaven saying, I am restoring you piece by piece. Its wings flutter a lot at first, clumsily. The wind is too powerful and the sky is too big. However, it eventually learns to flail its wings and let the current carry it. The effort suddenly decreases, but the lift is higher. This rhythm is something you're learning again. Leaning on the wind of the Spirit instead of pushing in tiredness, you find a strength that allows you to go further with less effort. Joy also brings strength back. The joy of the Lord is your strength. According to another passage in the book of Nehemiah, joy is a deep spring that keeps you going, not fleeting enjoyment. Strength arises when happiness returns after periods of sadness. Laughing is not a sign of weakness. It is a weapon against hopelessness. Think of a violin string. It's too free and silent, carefully adjusted, but too tight and it breaks. It has a lovely vibrating sound. They're tuning your life anew. Trial tension has been genuine. However, the master's hand is now balancing, regulating, and bringing you into balance where calm and power coexist. And see how your viewpoint changes when this power returns. What was once a mountain could seem like a hill today. What used to make you shudder could now make you smile. You get fresh eyes via strength. It alters your approach to challenges, but it doesn't eliminate them entirely. After being renewed, a chosen one once said, "I realized my problem was the same size, but I had grown larger." This is an example of strength coming back. The adversary did not back down. However, as you grew, intimidation became less effective. Now, let every action you do be a proclamation. Being strong is not a distant promise. It's your current situation. It may seem like a trickle, but it will eventually turn into a torrent. It may seem like daybreak, but the light is just going to become brighter. Proceed with composed assurance. The Lord's power is not brittle. Unlike candles, it doesn't flicker in and out. It burns steadily, like a well-kept fire. You are walking into that fire with it in your voice, your body, and your soul. Peace is returned, along with strength. It cannot be taken. This is your share. So take a deep breath that is as steady as your pulse. Calm as steady as your breathing. Your current feelings are not temporary. It is the blueprint for the new life you are creating inside of yourself. And when you wake up tomorrow, you'll see that strength has increased once again. Your steps become stronger and the peace grows. The trip ahead is welcomed with newfound strength rather than endured in weakness. Healing is not only about you. Your physical and spiritual experiences are not unique to you. Like perfume spilled into a room, the excess of God's touch inevitably flows outward. The scent is not retained in the bottle. It covers every available space. As stated in the ancient holy books in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 9, restoration starts to permeate your family, your home, and even future generations. Therefore, be aware that the Lord is God. To 1,000 generations of people who love him and obey his commands. He is the obedient God upholding his covenant of love. Well, this is a big promise. It indicates that the effort you start inside yourself has an impact that extends much beyond this time. In addition to receiving healing for yourself, you are also opening a portal for healing to enter your family. Think about how a valley is nourished by a single river. It provides water to villages. Crops have deep drinking. Banks are where trees take root. The whole valley thrives when that river is clean.